Hope you made it through parts 1, 2, and 3, because as we begin part 4, brace yourself. The darkness is just getting started. Evil doesn't just survive here, it thrives, and when it's all over, it's the only thing left standing, like this film on number 1. Chinatown, 1974, directed by Roman Polanski and written by Robert Towne, is one of the greatest neo-noir films ever made. Sharp, twisted, and devastating. Set in 1930s Los Angeles, it follows private investigator Jake Gittes, played by Jack Nicholson, who's hired by a woman claiming to be Evelyn Mulray. She wants him to investigate her husband, Hollis, the chief engineer at the city's water and power department. Gittes uncovers what appears to be an affair, but soon realizes he's been used. The real Evelyn appears, threatening to sue. What starts as a simple cheating case turns into a deep conspiracy involving water rights, land fraud, and murder. Gittes discovers that powerful men are stealing water during a drought to force landowners to sell their properties cheap, then profiting when the land becomes valuable again. The darkest twist comes when Gittes learns that Evelyn's daughter, Catherine, is also her sister. Her father, Noah Cross, had raped Evelyn when she was a teenager. Cross is behind the land theft, the water plot, and Hollis's murder. Gittes tries to help Evelyn and Catherine escape, but it ends in tragedy. The police kill Evelyn. Cross survives, takes Catherine, and walks away untouched. Gittes is left powerless, the truth buried, and evil protected by power. Most fairy tales end with a happily ever after. Pan's Labyrinth, 2006, doesn't. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, this is a story where monsters are real, but the humans are worse. Set in Spain in 1944. It follows a young girl named Ophelia who escapes her grim reality by entering a mysterious labyrinth. Her stepfather, Captain Vidal, is a brutal officer hunting rebels, while Ophelia's pregnant mother grows weaker each day. Ophelia meets a faun who claims she's the reincarnation of a princess and gives her 3 tasks to complete. Along the way, she faces magical but terrifying creatures, including the Pale Man, one of the film's most disturbing figures. A child-eating monster with loose, saggy skin and eyeballs in his hands, the Pale Man sits silently before waking to hunt Ophelia when she breaks the rules. The scene is tense, ugly, and unforgettable. The real horror, however, is not fantasy, it's the human world. Captain Vidal's cruelty, torture, and obsession with control overshadow even the monsters. In the end, Ophelia refuses to harm her baby brother to open the portal. She's killed for her choice, but that act of sacrifice becomes her final test. Her blood opens the gate, and she's welcomed into the underworld kingdom as its rightful princess. The Vanishing, 1988, is a psychological thriller that doesn't rely on jump scares or horror. It slowly unravels your sense of safety, logic, and trust in human nature. Directed by George Sluizer and based on The Golden Egg, this Dutch film follows Rex, a man obsessed with solving the mysterious disappearance of his girlfriend, Saskia, at a roadside gas station. What makes The Vanishing so chilling is how quiet and ordinary it feels. The kidnapper, Raymond, isn't a monster. He's a calm, calculated man with a family, a job, and no conscience. We watch as he rehearses his crimes step by step, measuring chloroform doses, testing abduction routines, all in pursuit of proving he can do evil simply because he wants to. After 3 long years of searching for Saskia, Rex finally finds her kidnapper, Raymond, a calm, calculating man who reveals he abducted Saskia as part of a philosophical experiment. He wanted to prove that, as a man without conscience, he could commit a truly evil act purely by choice. Now he offers Rex a chance to know the truth, but only by living it. Desperate for answers, Rex drinks the drugged coffee and passes out. He awakens buried alive in a wooden coffin, just as Saskia had been. Panic floods in as he flicks his lighter, only to be swallowed by darkness. No rescue comes, no twist saves him. Rex, like Saskia, dies alone. The film ends with a newspaper headline showing Rex and Saskia's faces inside 2 egg-shaped ovals. It's quiet, poetic, and deeply disturbing. Evil wins, not in violence, but in total psychological domination. The Vanishing is a slow clinical descent into helplessness, and it stays with you long after it ends. The Boys is a dark satirical superhero series created by Eric Kripke, based on the comics by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. On the surface, it looks like another show about people with powers, but instead of saving the world, the heroes are selfish, violent, and corrupted by fame and corporate control. These soups are managed by Vought International, a billion-dollar company that markets them like celebrities while covering up their crimes. The show follows a ragtag group of vigilantes, the Boys, led by Billy Butcher, who aim to take down Vought and expose the truth. But the real focus and threat is Homelander. You know him. Blonde, blue-eyed, patriotic suit. He looks like Superman, but he's a narcissistic, unstable sociopath with godlike power and 0 empathy. What makes The Boys special is how it flips the superhero genre on its head. There's blood, betrayal, and twisted power games, and as the seasons progress, the story gets darker. Homelander, once barely kept in check, slowly becomes unstoppable. By the end of Season 3, he openly murders a protester in front of a crowd, and they cheer. There Will Be Blood, 2007, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, is a dark and intense character study set during America's oil boom in the early 20th century. It follows Daniel Plainview, a silver miner turned ruthless oil tycoon, played masterfully by Daniel Day-Lewis in an Oscar-winning performance. At first, he presents himself as a caring family man with his adopted son H.W. by his side, but beneath that charm is a man driven entirely by greed, power, and hatred for anyone who gets in his way. When he learns of oil in a small town, he lies, manipulates, and destroys anyone who threatens his ambition, including Eli Sunday, a young preacher who becomes his rival. The film is a slow burn, showing how Daniel rises by stepping on everyone around him. He uses his son as a prop, exploits the community, murders a man pretending to be his brother, and ultimately cuts ties with his son in a brutal emotional scene. The movie ends in a private bowling alley where Daniel, drunk and empty, murders Eli in cold blood. With nothing left but money and hatred, he says the final words, "I'm finished." The Neon Demon, 2016, is a psychological horror film directed by Nicholas Winding Refn that explores the brutal underbelly of the fashion industry. The story follows 16-year-old Jessie, an orphaned girl who moves to Los Angeles with dreams of becoming a model. Her natural beauty quickly captures attention, setting her apart in an industry obsessed with perfection and youth. Jessie begins innocent, shy, and sweet, but as her star rises, so does her ego. Older models like Gigi and Sarah, threatened by her effortless beauty, become jealous. Ruby, a makeup artist who befriends Jessie, also hides a disturbing obsession. At first, the tension is subtle, awkward glances, whispered envy, but the atmosphere thickens with dread. Then, all hell breaks loose. After rejecting Ruby's sexual advances, Jessie is murdered by Ruby, Gigi, and Sarah, who bathe in her blood and consume her flesh. They believe that by doing so, they can absorb her beauty. It's shocking, symbolic, and deeply disturbing. It's not just the violence, it's the psychological torment. It reveals how beauty is worshipped, consumed, and ultimately destroyed. The film uses strange dreamlike visuals, eerie music, and long moments of silence to create a haunting mood. Jessie's visions, like mirrors, glowing shapes, and distorted reflections, show how she's slowly losing herself to vanity and obsession. The world of fashion isn't shown as glamorous. Instead, it's cold, cruel, and full of people who will do anything to stay on top. In the final act, Gigi vomits an eyeball and kills herself, unable to bear what she's done. Sarah eats the eyeball and goes back to work like nothing happened. That's the dark victory. Evil wins quietly, without apology. The system that destroyed Jessie keeps moving. The Neon Demon is disturbing not just because of the gore, but because it shows how far people will go to possess beauty. Saltburn, 2023, is a twisted psychological thriller and black comedy that follows the unsettling rise of Oliver Quick, a working-class scholarship student at Oxford. Oliver starts off as an awkward outsider, but what unfolds is a dark story of obsession, manipulation, and calculated ambition. At first, Oliver seems sympathetic. He claims to come from a troubled background and quickly charms Felix Catton, a wealthy, popular classmate who invites him to spend the summer at his family's grand estate, Saltburn. There, Oliver meets the rest of the eccentric, aristocratic Catton family. They take him in, unaware that he's not who he says he is. Bit by bit, Oliver works his way into their lives and starts to tear them apart. He watches Felix intimately, lies about his past, manipulates relationships, and even seduces multiple family members. When Felix learns the truth, he tells Oliver to leave, but it's already too late. The next morning, Felix is found dead in the garden maze. Soon after, the sister dies by suicide, the father dies, and eventually, the mother, whom Oliver wins over, is left dying in his care. By the end, Oliver admits everything. He planned it all. He poisoned Felix. He set up the sister's suicide. He manipulated Elspeth into signing over the estate. Then he removes her life support, takes the mansion, and dances naked through its halls, completely victorious. Saltburn is disturbing not because of its storyline, but because evil wins while wearing a smile. Oliver wins. He gets everything, and no one ever stops him. It's a masterclass in slow burn dread, blending class satire with shocking twists. Enemy, 2013, is a slow-burning psychological thriller starring Jake Gyllenhaal in dual roles, and it's one of the most unsettling identity films of the decade. Gyllenhaal plays Adam Bell, a quiet, disheveled history professor living a dull routine. One day, he spots an actor in a movie who looks exactly like him. Curious and disturbed, Adam tracks this man down. His name is Anthony Clare, an arrogant, confident actor with a mysterious edge. What follows is not a simple case of mistaken identity. It's a spiraling descent into obsession, control, and the fear of losing oneself. The two men's lives begin to blur. Anthony invades Adam's relationship with his girlfriend, Mary. Meanwhile, Adam grows closer to Anthony's wife, Helen, a woman who seems to sense that something isn't right. Things escalate when Anthony takes Mary to a hotel, pretending to be Adam. An argument follows, and they die in a car crash. Adam then quietly assumes Anthony's place with Helen. It seems like he's found peace, until the final scene, when Adam opens a letter addressed to Anthony and instantly changes. He's back to his cold, distant self. He plans to cheat, and in that moment, we realize the truth. Adam and Anthony might not be two people, they're two sides of the same man. Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Adam, isn't fighting a villain. He's fighting the darker, more reckless part of his own mind, his alter ego, Anthony. And by the end, he gives in. There's no dramatic explosion or final confrontation, just a quiet moment where he becomes the very person he feared. And there you have it, part 4 of the darkest victories in fiction history. Got a twisted ending we missed? Drop it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share if you want more dives into cinema's most brutal finales. Until next time.